Hi, welcome to your one-way trip through life. I'm Mark Chussil, author of Nice Start, Questions Only You Can Answer to Create the Life Only You Can Live. And today we're going to talk about you, your life, and getting more of what you want. That's a picture of me, but not a very recent one. Life starts early, and so does attitude. At the age of 2 or 3, I was getting frustrated because all my life people had been telling me what to do, and I wanted to go out and explore my own way. Let me give you an example. My family went to visit my grandparents, and my grandparents had a pretty good sized backyard, and I wanted to play in that backyard. Now, at the same time, of course, my family wanted to make sure that I was safe, that I wasn't going to go wandering someplace where I could get lost or get hurt. So here's the solution that they figured out. So there I was wearing my overalls, and at the back of the house there was a railing, and they took a piece of rope and attached one end of the rope to the railing, and they attached the other end of the rope to my overalls. So, good solution. I could play outside, and they don't have to worry about me getting lost or getting hurt. So everybody was happy. A few minutes later, somebody said, "Gee, I wonder what Mark's doing." And they went out and they took a look and they saw the railing and they saw one end of the rope attached to the railing. They saw the other end of the rope attached to the overalls, but there was no Mark. I wasn't there. What had happened was I took off the overalls and I went exploring. Now, I didn't get far and I was safe and sound. They found me easily, no problem or anything like that. But the thing is, I'm still proud to this day of that out-of-the-box solution or that out-of-the-overall solution that let me start to explore my life. Now, I'd like to tell you another story. This is also a picture of me after I'd been on the one-way trip called my life for quite a long time. I was serving on the volunteer staff of a personal growth seminar, and I had a small group of people that I was working with, and we were doing an exercise. And in this exercise, we would take turns where each of us would spend 1 minute talking about the things that we were proud of that we had done, and then we would spend a minute listening to everybody else in the group give us positive feedback about what we had done. It was an exercise, first of all, in being able to acknowledge good things about ourselves. And a lot of people are sort of uncomfortable doing that. They feel that it's bragging. And also an exercise in accepting positive feedback from people about ourselves, which a lot of people also find difficult. We tend to say things like, "Oh yeah, but it really wasn't that great," or I got lucky, or we sort of minimize what we have done. So it was my turn, and I was talking about my degrees from Yale and Harvard, the businesses that I had started, the book that I had written about business strategy, the big companies that I had done consulting work for on 6 continents, and so on. At the end of my minute, I stopped, and then the group was giving me positive feedback. They were saying, "Oh, this is cool and that's cool," and I was listening to them. And one of the members of my group was a 15-year-old kid, a really nice guy, had a gentle smile, and he was just a sweet kid. He had been very quiet all that time, and he looked at me and gave me that smile, and he said, "Nice start." Now, I'm not supposed to be saying anything. The rules of the exercise were that you're silent when you're listening to the feedback from the other people. But inside my head, I was saying a lot. I was saying, "Nice start. Did you even hear what I had been talking about? How's this just a nice start?" And then, for once in my life, I did something smart. I stopped and I thought, what could he have meant by saying that? Maybe he was being funny. Maybe he was paying me a compliment. Maybe he was giving me a hard time. Maybe he didn't have a clue. I mean, he was 15 years old. I don't know. And I thought, what could possibly have made him say that based on what I had said? And I realized that everything I had talked about was about my career. That's the only thing that I talked about. It's as though I'd spent my entire life focused on driving and I had never looked at the scenery. So I decided to make some changes. And by the way, if you ever doubt whether you make a difference in other people's lives, just think about this story where a 15-year-old kid who was a stranger to me said 2 words to me and changed my life. So I decided to make changes in my life and I wrote another book. And that other book that I wrote was about self-awareness. And I had the perfect title for it. This is not a quiz to match the correct title for this person, because this person has done all of these things. He even became an astronaut while he was a United States Senator. He flew on the space shuttle. This is Jake Garn. And a few years ago, I read an interview with Senator Garn. The interviewer said, "Wow, Senator Garn, you've done so many things. Where in the cosmos do you want to go next?" And I love that question. It is such a nice start kind of question. It's nice start. Now what? And here's what Senator Garn answered. He said, "I'd love to be the first man on Mars, even if it's a one-way trip." And when I read that, I thought, wow, this guy is committed. There is something that he wants so much that he is willing to spend the rest of his life to have that experience. That I just thought was amazing. And then I thought, oh, what about other one-way trips, the kind of one-way trips that all of us take? They may not be quite as dramatic as going to Mars, but we take one-way trips all the time. Now, by the way, that photograph is the surface of Mars, and I know that that's true because I got the photograph on the internet. Now, some one-way trips are traumatic and consequential, and others are just smaller. Still, every day we take one-way trips because we never get any day back. When my great-grandparents came to the United States a little over 100 years ago, it was basically a one-way trip for them. Now, it was physically possible for them to go back to Eastern Europe, but as a practical matter, they could not. They came here not speaking the language, with small children, just determined to make a better life for themselves and for their children. Having children is a one-way trip. And there's other kinds of one-way trips we take. Like, dude, what were you thinking when you got this tattoo? What do you think that's going to look like when you're not a bodybuilder anymore? One-way trip. Now, a question for you is, what one-way trip would you take? You take a one-way trip every day. I'm suggesting being conscious about it. What price are you willing to pay for the one-way trip you really want? If you're not willing to pay the price for the one-way trip you really want, what one-way trip can you get for the price you are willing to pay? Now, one-way trips aren't inherently good or bad. They're simply choices, though they're not necessarily simple choices. I'm not telling you what you should choose or what price you should be willing to pay. I'm just suggesting being conscious about the choices you make so you can get more of what you truly want. A year from now, you will wish you had started today. So, start today. The remaining slides are about the book, testimonials, webinars and workshops, and contact information. There is no more audio after this slide. Thank you, and all the best to you.